Okay, so good evening. Welcome to this 10-minute power class. This is on Parshat Naso, which is also dealing with the laws of the Sotah and the laws of Nazir. So there's a beautiful law in this week's Parsha, and I'm going to share the screen here. The beauty of Zoom, you can share the screen. Oh, not that. We don't want Facebook. 1 second. Oh, gosh. Hold on. Oh, my God. Second. How do I do this? Okay. So here we go. So there's a beautiful law in our parsha. The screen should be in front of you. Okay, so it's the laws of Nazir. The Lord spoke to Moses saying, Daber b'nei Israel, speak to the Jews and give them the laws of Nazarite, the Nazir. The screen is in front of you, but basically the law states that if you make a vow, so to speak, you become a Nazir, that you're refraining from drinking wine and from cutting your hair and from all these beautiful things of here. And look at the verse 3 and 4. So you do this for whatever, 12 months. Then you, after the year, you now bring a sacrifice. This is called a Nazir. This is called a Nazarite, what's called. Okay, so this is the law that the Torah introduces in our parsha. The problem with this law is that seemingly it's redundant. Because if we look at the laws of not Nazir, but the laws of Neder, the laws of Neder vow, which is brought in the Parsha of Matot, seemingly it's a similar thing. What is the law of a vow? If somebody makes a vow, I will now abstain from eating cheesecake. You know, Shavuot, I had so much cheesecake. I put on so much cholesterol. I now refrain from eating any cheesecake. So now you are not allowed to eat cheesecake. Cheesecake for you becomes exactly like pork, right? During this Corona era, so I'm putting on so much weight. You know, there's all different stories, putting on so much weight. So now I make a vow that I am now going to abstain from drinking beer, let's say. Beer becomes exactly like pork. So the question is, why does the Torah have to introduce a whole brand new topic called Nazir, which is the Nazarite? For example, Shimshon, one of the great, strongest men, the first Superman in history, the strongest man was a Nazir. You know, he had his hair grow long and he abstained from wine. Like, what's the difference? If I make a vow, I'm abstaining from cutting my hair, or I'm abstaining from drinking wine, what's the difference between that and a Nazir? And there's a beautiful, beautiful lesson from this. And it actually says it in the Parsha. I'm going to share the screen again. If you look at verse number 8, so the Lubavitcher Rebbe explains a beautiful explanation between the laws of Nazir and the laws of Neder. You see, in verse number 8, it says, Kol Yemei Nizro Kadosh Hu Lashem. The entire duration of his Nezer, he becomes holy. He becomes holy. And what that means is the following. You see, when a person, when he or she make a vow, I will abstain from a certain food, let's just take that as an example. So yes, the food becomes like pork, let's say, right? If I'm abstaining from it, you've made a change in the food, but you haven't changed yourself. The laws of Nazir are innovative, cutting edge, so to speak, in that you've now created something new called you have made yourself holy. As it says again in verse number 8, Kol Yemei Nizro Kadosh Hu Lashem. You have now become holy. You have made yourself into a brand new entity, which is holy. And that is a whole different ballgame. And let me explain by view of a story. You know, they tell the story of this guy called Vladimir. Vladimir is a good Russian peasant, and he was poor his whole life. And then one day he becomes very, very wealthy. He makes it big. He becomes a very, very wealthy guy, Vladimir. So they tell him that in order to do a big, good business deal, he has to go to a big city of Moscow. You know, he's never driven in anything but a horse and wagon. He asks, how do I go? They tell him there's a train. He's never done a train before, but he's happy to, go along. And they tell him how to buy a ticket. Anyway, he goes to the train station, buys a ticket. They ask the person selling the ticket, asking which ticket do you want? He asks, what's the difference? Is it the third class, second class, first class? Money wasn't an issue. So he bought a first class ticket. They tell him the train is in a few days. So he waits in the train station a couple of days. Anyway, 2 hours before the train's supposed to leave, he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know how to board, but he takes his tickets, he puts them deep, deep, deep into his pocket because the person selling him the tickets told him these are non-refundable and they're very, very expensive. But he notices three guys. They board the very last train and he follows them. He doesn't know what to do. They board the very last train, the very last compartment, and then they go and they hide under the seat. And he thinks this is what you're supposed to do. So he goes and hides under the seat and he falls asleep. And in the middle of the train ride, he gets a kick in his rear end from the conductor. Sir, what do you think? This is free ride. Where's your ticket? And Vladimir comes out bewildered. He just woke up. What do you mean, where's my ticket? He peels off layer of clothing and he produces a first-class ticket. And the conductor says, you idiot, you have a first-class ticket. Why on earth would you travel underneath like a beggar, like a robber? You see, as Jews, we've just had the beautiful holiday of Shavuot, where we've been given the first-class ticket to life. We've been given the mandate of Tikkun Olam. We've been given the mission to spread goodness and kindness. We've been given the opportunity of being a light unto the world. As Jews, we are sons of God. We are sons of Hashem. We are kings. So when it comes time to doing a sin, for example, what is the answer? Es passt nicht. It's not appropriate. It's not appropriate for me to do a sin now. It's not appropriate for me to steal. It's not appropriate for me to vandalize or to act inappropriately. It's just not appropriate. Why? Because I'm a son of God. I am a son of Hashem. I am special. Hashem chose me. We just read it. God chose me for a unique mission. You see, Nazir, as opposed to Nezer, introduces the concept that you become holy. That is what a Jew is. A Jew has become a holy entity by entering into the covenant with Hashem, with God. Kadosh hu Hashem. You have become holy. The beautiful story is told of the famous scholar called the Netziv. The Nazir wrote many books. He lived in the 19th century. He was actually he wrote a book called Ha'amek Davar. The Nazir of Volozhin. He also wrote a book. What was it called? He wrote a book called. What's the book called? The Ha'amek Shaila. He wrote the book Ha'amek Shaila. He's a very, very, very great man. So he tells a story at one of his siyumim, so to speak, one of his consecrating one of his books. So he told the following story. He said, when I was a young kid, I couldn't learn, I couldn't concentrate in school. I was in cheder, and one day I came home, and my father was having a conversation with my mother. He said, we must have been 7, 8, 9 years old, a young kid. And my father said, why are we spending so much time and effort on teaching the kid? He's going to be a nothing. The father said to the mother, I spoke now to the local carpenter, and he agreed to take our son, Naftali Tzvi was his name, as an apprentice to teach him the art of carpentry. So at least his talent shouldn't be wasted. At least he should be a carpenter. At least he'll have a parnasa in life. So the Netziv says he was upstairs in the bedroom and he heard that conversation and he started to cry, and he came down crying and he begged his father, please, I beg of you, give me one more chance. I will do everything I can to study hard, to learn Torah properly. So he convinced his parents, and the next morning he went and he gave it all he got. After all his teachers had given up on him, he gave it all he got. He studied hard and he became one of the most famous scholars, writing some of the most famous books, Ha'amek Davar, Ha'amek Shaila, of the Netziv. So the Netziv, he says to his students, he says, what motivated me, he said, I probably would have been a fine carpenter, and probably after 120, when I came to the heavenly court and Shamayim, and God asks me, how did you spend your life? I would have said I was a fine carpenter. God would examine my tables that I built, my benches, my stenders for Torah study, my bookcases for beautiful books. And then he would respond, God would respond, those are beautiful bookcases, beautiful tables, beautiful stenders. But I have one question. God would ask me, where's the Ha'amek Davar? Where's that beautiful book you could have written? Where's that commentary on the Torah? Where's your Imrei Shefer, the commentary on the Haggadah? Where's your Ha'amek Sha'ala? And on that question, I would have no answer. You see, the Netziv could have been an incredible carpenter. He would have made an incredible, beautiful husband and father. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a fine profession. But he had been given an enormous gift and a marvelous potential, a creative mind and a genius for Torah study. And that he would have lost. The thousands of students that he would have been taught Torah would have been lost. When you realize your potential, your tremendous potential, we need to utilize it. So as Jews, we need to recognize that mandate, that mission, that beautiful mission we were given at Matan Torah. So anything that is not appropriate, we tell ourselves, es pasnish, it's just not appropriate for us to do. And that is the lesson we learn from the Nazir. And that is what the Nazir adds to the laws of Neder. Hope you all enjoyed this. Any questions, please unmute yourselves and please ask. We're going to be here every single night, 7:30. We've changed the time from 9 a.m. to 7:30 every single night to make it more convenient for everybody. Stay safe in these riots, in these plundering and whatever. And God willing, Hashem should send a speedy recovery to the entire world. Okay, I'm going to unmute. I'm going to end this meeting. Toda rabah, everybody. Laila tov.